And welcome back. It's time for our Sunday live interview. Thank you, by the way, for staying with us. IEBC Vice Chair Lilian Mahiri-Zaja joins us now. Thank you for coming to studio. Let's start with how many registration centers are there and what time do they open and close beginning tomorrow?
We have over 5,000 registration centers. There are 5,756, and we will be opening them as early as possible, 8 o'clock. And the official launch is what will open at 10:30.
Okay.
Yes.
And then what exactly does one need to carry in order to register as a voter?
To be registered, you need to have your national identity card, and you also need to have a valid Kenyan passport.
So you need both of those documents?
Or.
All right.
Either.
Okay, great. And is this is supposed to be the first voter registration exercise, correct? Or is this the only one?
Mass voter registration.
Okay.
We have been doing continuous voter registration, but this is an upscaled activity, so it's just the phase 1 of mass voter registration.
And when will you enter the other phases of mass voter registration?
The other phase will be next year at the same time.
The same time.
Yeah.
And how many are you expecting?
Our target this time for this first phase is 4 million voters, and next year an equal number.
Perhaps let me just rephrase that. How many mass voter registration exercises are you hoping to have?
We will have 2.
Just the 2?
Just the 2. This one for this within this phase, that is within this financial year, 2015-2016, and the second phase in the next financial year, 2016-2017.
And will it also be a month-long exercise?
It will, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to address some of the concerns that the public have had previously in terms of registering as a voter, and the major one has been that sometimes you will have registered at a particular ward, and then when it comes to voting day you find that your name is not registered there and you have to go to another ward. What usually informs such a discrepancy?
Unless there is a human error, the law requires that where you register is where you vote. There are times we saw a little bit of confusion when we were moving kits, but that is usually sorted out and people are redirected to where they're supposed to vote. So it is just what is stated in the law. Where you register is where you're expected to vote. Okay,
so that is a guarantee. And when will Kenyans be able to verify the register?
Only after we have completed the registration process, and that will be next year after the second phase of the mass voter registration is over. All right, let's go to concerns that political parties have had, and specifically the opposition court. We've aired a story in this bulletin. Again, they are saying that they believe that the distribution of BVR kits has been skewed. How many BVR kits have been deployed for this particular exercise, and what informed the areas in which they've been deployed? Initially, we had allocated the BVR kits in a very scientific way. And first, let me clarify that this has been ward-based. So we said if an area is less than 30 square kilometers, we will give the wards 1 kit. If it's an area with between 30 square kilometers to 500, it will have 2 kits. And between 501 to 5,000, we will give 3 kits. And over 5,000, we shall give 4 kits. So it is a scientific method. And last week, because we got additional funds from our international partners, we were able to double the numbers, and this is why we have 5,757 centers. So we have doubled, and I think there will be no problem. We shall be reviewing the registration as it goes on. And yet they still feel that that distribution has been skewed in some way, particularly to favor Jubilee strongholds. What are you doing to address their concerns? I don't think it's a valid concern, really, because if you look at some of the examples that have been given in the media, look at Kakamega, for example. Kakamega and Kiambu. Kakamega is a bit bigger than Kiambu. They both have 12 constituencies. They have been allocated 60 kits I mean, they have 60 wards each. Kakamega has been allocated 228, while Kiambu has been allocated 186, a difference of 42. So I don't think we are really looking at a skewed situation there. Another example is probably northeastern. Garissa Township was initially allocated 14 kids rather. The neighboring, and you know Garissa, the MP for Garissa is majority leader. The neighboring constituency, Balambala, has been allocated 28. So if we are going to look at the differences, even go to the coast region, Kilifi compared to Murang'a, they both have 35 county assembly wards, and Kilifi has even more. It has gotten more allocation. So if we are to do an analysis from that scientific criteria that we have given, I don't think you will say that it is skewed. And if I'm to add, IEBC is mandated in the Constitution to register Kenyans who are eligible to vote, and not to register members of particular parties or supporters of particular parties.
Nonetheless, are you not concerned that this is becoming a major political issue in terms of the credibility of IEBC heading into 2017?
Well, it may look major for now, but with the examples I've given you, we have a monitoring and evaluation component during the registration exercise. So we will challenge any Kenyan who feels that there is a problem. Let them come to the IEBC. We can look at the registrations as we move along, especially in the first week. We want to see people coming out in large numbers, so that any allegation of anything that is not adding up, as I've said, we are using a scientific method. We will be able to address any anomaly. But for now, we are convinced we have used a scientific method that should be able to give us an equitable share across the wards on registration.
And so this won't change, at least in as far as this first mass voter registration exercise is concerned?
I have said we are going to monitor. So if during the first week we find that there are areas that require more kits, then we shall review the situation as we go along. But for now, we will work with the criteria that we have already set to work with.
All right. You've talked about registering all those who are eligible. There are some 3 million Kenyans who technically should be eligible to register as voters, but because they have attained the requisite age, but they do not have the national identity card. And this was raised even in the previous election, that it calls into question perhaps the credibility of such a plebiscite, whether the sample is really mass and representative of all people. Are you concerned about the number of Kenyans who are qualified to have their, national IDs and do not have them? And there have been proposals that were given to IEBC to work in tandem with the National Registration Bureau. Do you intend to do that?
Of course, we are concerned that we were given projections using the 2009 census. That is when we conducted our first voter registration in 2012. We had a target of 18 million against a figure of 22 million that had been given by the National Registration Bureau. And we got 14.3 million voters on the register. So I think we need to say it here that our registration is voluntary. It is not compulsory or mandatory that Kenyans have to come out and register as voters.
But are you concerned that they're not getting a fair shot?
Yeah. That notwithstanding, we are of course working with the NRB to ensure that the targets that we have set now, the 8 million, there will be people with IDs to come out and register. And remember, just last week, the National Registration Bureau gave figures per counties to show that there are IDs out there that are uncollected.
Yes, 400,000.
Yeah, if there is a problem out there, and sometimes, Mwananchi, when they go to our local chiefs, they are told, toa kitu kidogo before you are given your ID. It's your national right to get that ID to enable you to vote. So if there is a problem, we want to work not just with NRB, to also work with the local administration, the county administration, to ensure that those IDs that are lying out there are given to their rightful owners and who will come now to register as voters.
And what exactly are your working plans with NRB? Let me break it down. Some have gone as far as to suggest that, parallel to voter registration, one should be able to, get their national identity document and then be able to register as a voter, should they wish at the same time. What exactly is the working relationship with NRB?
We have the Huduma centers across the country. And we have suggested that everywhere at the county level where there is an Huduma center, the NRB officials, you should get your ID, and IEBC should have a desk on the side, so that once you get your national ID, you are registered immediately as a voter. And that still is voluntary. We have been able to work in some areas and we have gotten results. So I think that has been
You
one
have been
strategy.
able to register voters from
yes,
Huduma
at Huduma centers.
Okay.
We have done that. We have partnered with NRB at the Huduma centers. The other strategy we have used is to work with the local chiefs and local leaders who are able to identify those people who have gotten IDs and are not registered as voters. One such initiative was last year when we had our annual Voter Education Week, and we were able to mobilize people, get the chiefs to get their IDs out. But there are areas that still do have a problem, where chiefs are not, or the local administration is not releasing the IDs to Wananchi.
And are you sounding the alarm with anyone?
We have sounded that. We have talked to the NRB, we have talked to the county commissioners. Last week we had engagement with the governors and we talked about all these issues, and we are hoping that they will join hands to mobilize Wananchi for registration. All
right, let's move very quickly to diaspora registration of voters. What are the plans in as far as that is concerned, and how many potential Kenyan voters are out there in the diaspora?
We are planning to register voters next year as we do the second phase. We will be registering them from the 10th of March to around the 24th of March. And we have already developed our policy that is quite clear that we will only register those Kenyans out there who have valid Kenyan passports. And we shall be doing that from our Kenyan embassies, the consulates, high commissions, where we have a presence. And we have also said that we will have registration in areas or countries where at least there is a population that can be registered of about 3,000 eligible voters.
Okay, and how many countries are those, just quickly?
I cannot say for now, because as of now we still do not have correct data from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We have been engaging with Foreign Affairs, and we shall soon be getting the data from them.
Well, what would you say is the biggest lesson that you learned finally from the last election?
Last election, in terms of voter registration, I think we were constrained for time. And of course, there was late procurement of equipment. They came, they arrived late. There was issues in training of our personnel. And that has really gone a long way into informing us this time round that we need to plan early. And you can see we have set to start early. We are doing this first phase. Next year we will do another phase.
And that will be it?
Yeah, before we go into the inspection period, because again, there are legal timelines that guide our work. There is inspection of the register and certification of the register. All right.
Thank you very much for that. Lilian Mahiri-Zaja, who is, of course, the IEBC Vice Chair. Thank you for joining us for that interview. So make sure tomorrow, bright and early as 8 a.m., you will be able to register as a voter.